Welcome everyone, Kelly here from Carcraft Auto Tech, and today I'm going to show you how to properly clean and service your drum brakes on your Toyota Tacoma. Stay tuned. Well, first things first, obviously you have to jack the vehicle up. So I'm going to cover taking the wheel off today. I'm sure if you're interested in cleaning and servicing your drum brakes, you know how to take the wheel off, but let's just go over obviously some very simple basics. Make sure you block the wheels, safe and secure, don't go underneath it, make sure it's supported properly, yada yada yada. Make sure you're safe, don't crush yourself under your truck. So anyways, once we get that off, okay, we got the wheel off, so let's get going. Okay, so we got the wheel off and we got to get ready to take our drum off. Now, depending on how old your truck is and the last time the drums were off, this can be very simple. It can also be a pain in the butt. So I'm going to show you a couple different things that you're going to want to pay attention to. Typically, you're going to see most people with the hammer and they're going to hit it around here like this. That is perfectly acceptable. That's what we do a lot of the time. But what you'll notice, you have all these holes around here. Two of them are threaded. This is going to be an 8 mil by 1.25. The only thing with this is a dangerous game if you don't know what you're doing, because I don't mean for safety wise, I just mean dangerous and you can wreck your stuff. Obviously, because I service my stuff quite regularly and my truck isn't that old, my drum really shouldn't be a big deal. I'm sure we could give it a whack and it's going to come off. It's still kind of frozen, but I'm going to demonstrate quickly how this works, because this is pretty obvious. You whack it, do not damage your studs. Obviously, if you hit them, you're going to wreck the end of them and your nut is not going to go on properly. So that's going to be a pain in your butt and you're going to have to fix that. So let's try not to wreck anything. Going to thread this bolt in here, and what we can do is just put the bolt in here just enough that it's going to pop the drum off. You go one side a little bit, go to the other side a little bit. You can see pretty much mine's free. Where this can become a problem is if we continually ram this bolt in here and it's stuck at the back. What's going to happen is we can damage the shoes and or springs back there. Well, the drum is free. Typically what we're seeing is happening here is that there's a buildup of rust around here on the axle flange. Some places it's really not a big deal, and if you do it fairly often, it really shouldn't be too big of a deal. But if you haven't taken your drums off for a while, or maybe you live in the Rust Belt, something like that, you will get a pretty good buildup here. Sometimes it can be a bit of a pain in the butt. You can spray some penetrating fluid, wire brush it to help, but usually hitting it or popping it with the bolts typically is going to get it off. So let's pull the drum off. Now, what happens as the vehicle ages, and why doing the bolt method can be a little bit dangerous, is that you'll end up by getting a rust ring around here. The shoes wear into the drum, but this edge, the shoes don't come all the way past. They're just a bit short, so you get this big ridge back here, and what happens physically, the drum will not come off. So when you're ramming the bolts through, you're pulling it, and what's happening is that ridge is getting caught on the back side of the shoes here and pulling on your shoes, so it can wreck the hold down springs. It can also wreck the shoe. So that's why you have to be well aware of what you're doing. If it's popped just a little bit here, it's free. If it's still not coming off, then you have an unadjustment problem where you're going to have to unadjust the shoes a little bit to get it off. Typically you don't see that until you get to higher kilometers. So inside here, let's see if I can light this. Sorry, this part's going to be handheld, so a little bit shaky. That guy right back there is the star wheel adjuster. So that is the star wheel adjuster. I'm going to show you from the back side what we're going to see there. If we happen to get into the scenario where the drums won't come off and we need to unadjust it, we know what the star wheel is. We need to access it through the back plug right here. There is a special tool for this, but sometimes you can use a screwdriver that will work just as good. You need to turn the wheel to loosen the tension so you can get that drum off. Here, I'll show you what we can do to prevent that from happening in the future. What we'll end up by doing a lot of the time is taking something like this on a drill. We got a little bit of a burr here, and my drums don't need it, but as you start to get a little bit of a lip here, if you want to just quickly knock this off, is we can take this on here and just run it around there and just sort of knock that lip down. Having a little bit of marking on here or anything like that, it's not really going to do anything to the surface because it is not where the shoe is making contact. So we can quickly do that. Then we can go ahead and wash out our drum. Well, we've taken care of the ridge. We know there's no ridge on the drum. We've looked on the surface of the drum. Everything looks to be great. Now we're just going to go ahead and wash it out. So typically at home you're going to have canned brake clean, and that's perfectly good. I buy it in bulk, obviously, here at the shop. So we're going to go ahead and just wash out the drum completely. Drum's nicely washed out. We can go ahead and just give it a quick wipe and get rid of any excess brake clean. Of course, it's just going to dry up on its own. And there we go. Drum is ready to go. Let's just move it off to the side. So I just wanted to do a quick interruption. Just wanted to say that, if you're liking any of this content, if this is helping you in any way, shape, or form, please hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel. Just want to say thank you so much, and we'll get back at it. Well, now we're going to want to check our shoe thickness. Obviously, these are the two shoes. We're looking at how much lining is left here. We got maybe 2 mil here and about 1 mil here. So obviously this shoe is worn down the most. But this is still probably 30–40% maybe at best 3 mil thickness, brand new. They wear down quite a bit slower than your front pads. I'll have to keep an eye on them over the next while, but still probably going to get quite a bit of mileage out of them. Next, obviously this guy here is your wheel cylinder. Obviously if you see any fluid underneath it, we have a very big problem. What you can do is pre-check them a little bit, is you can pop this boot here and see if there's any fluid hanging around inside of here. I'm trying to pop mine, perfectly dry in there, no problem, nothing there. Another problem you're going to want to look for is in behind, all back in here, to see if there's any fluid. Obviously if you pull your drum off, you've seen that before, where there's fluid hanging around in there. That is a big problem. That means you have an axle seal leaking. You'll have to definitely get that looked at right away, because it will contaminate your brake shoes and you're going to run into much bigger problems. We're about ready to start cleaning. One thing that you're going to want to make sure is that this flange end is clean. If you can find yourself a nice thin style wire brush, you can get in behind here. There's all the old paper on mine left over from the original factory gasket that was there. So I have never really cleaned that off. You want to get around here really nicely and get rid of as much of this as you can. You don't want to have any real friction there. Hasn't really been a bother for me, but we do want to clean this up as best as possible. So let's go ahead and just, let's just give this a cleaning. So I'm fairly satisfied with how mine's done. We're going to go ahead and just wash it out. So you can get your can, and we're going to just spray in liberally all around and basically clean this thing up as best we can. I like to just spray around the back, just like this. We're going to get the front here, clean off the axle flange. Well, we've washed out the brakes, they're clean, and we're about ready to get adjusting. What I have here is a star wheel adjuster. This is not the adjuster from this truck, but basically all drum brake star wheel adjusters function on the same principle. It has a threaded wheel, and as we turn it, it makes this longer or shorter. So what we're trying, ours is right back in here. What we're trying to do, obviously, is spread the shoes to make the adjustment better. That's going to give you a little bit better pedal feel, and obviously it'll bring the parking brake higher, or tighter essentially. Just before we put this drum on, there is something that we can do to help with this buildup. A lot of people will use an anti-seize compound, and they'll just lightly brush this in and around here. I happen to have something just a little bit more fancy. I have this Worth CU800. It's a high temp copper paste, and we can just lightly spray this in and around here. That will definitely help for the buildup, and then we can go ahead and get the drum on and start our adjusting. Not only that, we can put a little bit of this paste here on the outside. That's typically what I do with mine. If you do put anti-seize, don't glob it on there, you know, don't be putting like huge amounts, but just a very fine light coating, and that will definitely help out the sticking situation. Now, the amount of clicks that this is going to take will vary completely. I mean, it's going to be, you know, different all the time. What you'll find with the star wheel adjuster is that the teeth are shaped one way that it grabs. So ours is right here, and I know I can see that the teeth are basically curved, so I know that means tightened will be this way. Essentially, it'll be that way. On the other side, I'm not sure, it might be the other way, but if you try to go the opposite way, it doesn't really want to grab, and it sort of just slides across. If you're doing it the right way, you'll know it will grab and it'll feel, and you can see the wheel turning and you can even hear it. So just go a few clicks at a time. You don't want to do too much. Then you got to unadjust it, go back and forth, and it's kind of a nuisance. One thing that you'll want to take care of too is if while you were doing any of this, if you bumped the shoes, they will move a little bit from left to right and they're going to be no longer centered. If that's the case, it's very simple to center them. You just quickly put your shoe back or your drum back on, put it back on, go up into the vehicle and just hit the parking brake, you know, 2, 3, 4 times. That will center the shoes again, and then you know that you've basically got them where you want them to be. Here's where it gets tricky. The amount of feel and the amount of drag that you want. What I usually do, so you can see they're pretty tight putting them on. I'll put them on and I'll sort of just wiggle it back and forth, and I know that I'm getting reasonably close. Put it all the way in, and then I give it a spin, and what we're looking for is light drag. On a new one, it might be a little bit tighter, but on shoes that have been worn in, just a light drag is all we're looking for, and we can check it's not really moving, so we know they're pretty firm. You can wait to do both sides and then go up there and pump your e-brake a couple of times as well and see how they're feeling. If it feels like it's still quite high, maybe you can give it just a little bit more adjustment. Adjusting your drum brakes really is not that big of a deal. A lot of people are scared, they're worried, they see a lot of pieces in there and they don't want to get involved. Really, this is something that you can do at home. Take those drums off, get it cleaned out, give them adjustment, get in there, give it a good inspection. Maybe you find some other problem that might have left you on the side of the road, and now you know about it because you got in there and looked at it. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.